What is up, everyone? Welcome back to our YouTube channel. So for today's video, I thought it would be perfect to give my testimony. I think like a few weeks back, I said that Taylor was going to give his testimony on this channel, but Taylor also just transitioned to full-time youth pastor at our church. So he has not had much time at all to sit down and record YouTube videos, unfortunately, but hopefully things will start to die down, or he'll start to get into the swing of things, and we will be able to get him to film his testimony video. But you all will just have to settle for me right now. So let's go ahead and get right into the video. So my testimony starts when I was about 3 years old. I'm going to try to shorten up my testimony as well. I don't want this video to be too long, but it starts when I was 3 years old. When I was 3, my mom was at work, and my mom's boyfriend at the time was at the house. Well, my brother had ended up scratching me at daycare, and he ended up getting in trouble, and so he got a spanking. And when we would get spankings, we would get it like with a belt. And so he ended up having bruises like all over his back. So then when my mom dropped us off at daycare the following day, which was to my aunt's house, she ended up seeing the bruises on my brother's back, and she just immediately assumed that we were getting abused, and she immediately turned us into CPS, which is Child Protective Services. And so basically my brother and I were put into foster care, and we spent about 4.5 years in foster care, and it was an interesting time there. Like when we went to the first foster home together, we were there together. But then after that, for some reason, they split us up. So we ended up going to separate homes. Now from there, my brother ended up being put into like this kind of like mental health hospital type thing for kids. And then I just ended up bouncing around from home to home to home within the foster care system. My experience in foster care was overall good, I would say, but of course there were downsides to it as well. I think that when I was in foster care, that's when I really got introduced into sexual sin, sexual immorality, things like that. And I think that if I could go back and change anything in my life, it would be that. I was so young, and I felt like I was introduced to that stuff at too early of an age. 4.5 years later, I ended up getting back with my mom first. Pregnancy brain, goodness gracious. I got back with my mom first, and then about 1.5 years later, or a year or so, my brother ended up coming home as well. And from there, we really struggled. We struggled to find places to stay. We struggled to keep homes. We were living in shelters, things like that. We really didn't have a place to call home. I remember there were some times we were sleeping in my mom's car. So we had to make do with what we had. And then finally, we ended up getting out of that situation, and my mom finally ended up getting approved for an apartment. So we ended up moving in with her, and we lived there for a while. And growing up, her boyfriend wasn't really the best person, to be around. I think he struggled a lot with things that he went through as a kid. And as we all know, hurt people hurt people. I think that throughout that time, there was a lot of like narcissistic behavior and actions and things like that. And it just wasn't a great environment to grow up in. And my mom will say that too. I've given my testimony before on YouTube, so this doesn't come as a shock to her or anything like that. Yeah, so it wasn't just the best environment for us to grow up in. And one of the things that her boyfriend would say to me all the time was, well, you've never had a boyfriend before, so maybe you like girls. And just by him saying things like that, for me as a kid, that was something that was like ding, 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 like something for me as a kid. Because if you tell a kid that, like, obviously they're gonna take some consideration to that. I started to believe that I liked girls, even so to the point where I would act on it as well. And that just opened up a whole world of just darkness, in my opinion. Like, it just opened up an entire world of just lots of confusion, lots of sexual immorality, things like that. Because I was actually acting on these things. When I tell people that, like, yes, I used to struggle with homosexuality, like, they don't think of it to the extent that it actually occurred. I used to be so stuck in that mindset, even to the point where when I started watching pornography, I don't know if I can say that on YouTube without like the video getting taken down, so I'm gonna just say P-ography for short. But when I got introduced to that at a very young age, I was on the computer, and this ad had popped up, and it was like, you're the millionth visitor, like claim your $1,000. And so as a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, I was like in the 5th grade at the time. I was like, I want $1,000. So I clicked it, and it took me to a porn site, and that's kind of how I fell into that rabbit hole. But to connect those two stories, I'm mentioning that because even when I would watch P-ography, it was just girls and girls. Like, it was never like straight couples, and anytime I would watch a straight couple, I'd be thoroughly repulsed by the man and his area and things like that, because I was like, that's disgusting, that's gross, he's ruining it, and so I was so stuck and deep in these like, this is who I am type of thing. Fast forward to senior year of high school, I had this friend, and she was absolutely amazing. She talked about the Lord all the time. She was just fantastic, and she ended up passing away in a car accident, unfortunately. I remember just saying to God, I was like, Lord, if I could just say goodbye to her, like one last time, if you would just give me that chance to say goodbye to her, then, I don't know what I said after that, but I was like, just let me say goodbye to her. And then it was just kind of like there was a cliffhanger. I had what was called a lucid dream. And lucid dreaming is basically just like, you're aware that you're asleep. Like, when you're in your dream, you know that you're asleep and that you can do whatever you want to do, say whatever you want to say, yada, yada, yada. So that was the first night I ever had a lucid dream. And so we were just driving. It was me and my friend that passed away. We were driving in a car, and we were driving through this mountainous, beautiful sunset type of thing, and it clicked in my head, hey, this is a dream. Like, this is not real. But it also clicked in my head that this is my chance to say goodbye to her. And so of course I wasn't just gonna be like, hey, goodbye. Like, I looked over and I was like, hey, I just want to let you know I love you so much. And she was kind of confused. She was like, why are you saying that? And I was like, just because, like, I just want to let you know that I love you so much. And she was like, okay. And then the dream ended with us just like driving into the sunset across the mountainous stuff. Like, it was just so beautiful. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, wow, like I was just brought to so much tears and so much emotion because I got a chance to say goodbye to her. And from that moment on, I knew it was the Lord. And I was like, I've got to get my life together. Like, I've got to do so much better. So I ended up going to college, and right before I went off to college, though, again, I was still struggling with these riveting thoughts. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, I'm bisexual. And she was like, okay, like, I still love you, and you're still my daughter, and, things like that. She was, very like, she made me feel very, very loved. I went off to college, and I encountered this awesome youth pastor there, and his name is James Helm. And he was just so on fire for the Lord, and he was not afraid to like tell us about Jesus and to just like share the word with us. And it was just so cool. So anyway, through getting involved with that ministry and stuff, I started to develop this deep, deep relationship with the Lord. And it was the coolest thing in the entire world, but I still knew that I was struggling with this other part of myself. And so I went into it with the mindset of not how do I fix myself, but how can I get closer to God? That was the last thing on my mind, was trying to fix myself, trying to change my habits or temptations or feelings or anything like that. I was just like, how do I get closer to God, right? Because I had read the verse, when you accept Jesus into your life, the old is past and the new has come. And so I thought, well, even with that transformation of getting closer to him, maybe that will happen as well. And so I just got closer to the Lord. I started reading his word. I started stripping away things in my life that wasn't serving me or bringing glory to the Lord. And slowly but surely, I started to find myself getting less and less attracted to girls. It was just the most incredible experience of my life. Like, it took time. Like, it wasn't just something that just clicked, happened overnight. Do I believe that the Lord can do stuff like that? Absolutely. But for me, it was this gradual thing. It took time for me to truly be delivered and saved from that. And so it was the coolest thing ever, just to kind of see the transition slowly decrease from, I don't really find them attractive anymore, but I do really love their personalities and I love being around them. Okay, well, now I'm not really attracted to their personalities anymore. I just like to have, friends that are girls. And then it's just like, these are my girls, it was just such a really cool transition. And I'm so thankful, for that and stuff. And it's just been like the coolest thing ever to experience in my life. So yes, that's kind of like my testimony in a very, very short time frame. I hope that you all enjoyed this video, and I hope that it brings you some sort of encouragement that no matter what you're going through in your life, God can do absolutely anything, and he can restore absolutely anything. I think God is just so cool in the way that he works things out for the good of those who love him. And I used to struggle with anxiety. I still struggle with anxiety a little bit, but I used to struggle with severe anxiety. And I'm so happy that I don't struggle with that to the extent that I did in the past. Like, there's so many parts to my testimony. This video could be 30,000 years long. Like, it really could be. So if you have any specific questions, you can ask me about them in the comments below, or you can message me on Instagram. But yeah, there's a lot that I've gone through in my life being in the foster care system, going through homosexuality, not living a very wealthy life or anything like that, living very poor, and just anxiety. That's been like a huge chunk of my life. Finding contentment in singleness. Like, there's a lot. There's a ton there, but I will leave y'all at that. I love y'all so much. Make sure you hit that big red subscribe button and turn on post bell notifications so that you get notified every time that we upload a video. I'm so excited to continue to post for you all, and I hope you have an amazing day, night, evening, morning, wherever it is you are, and know that Jesus loves you. Bye.